A rarity amongst British standard gauge locomotives is the Cowcatcher. Now, if my YouTube analytics are to be trusted, most of you have watched Thomas the Tank Engine and so know what a Cowcatcher is. So I shan't suddenly go into the history of things on a locomotive meant to throw animals off the tracks. But in short, Cowcatchers would often have to be mandated for lines which ran along public roads or were otherwise unfenced. Up in Aberdeenshire was one such line. Come 1897, the herring fishers of the town of St Combs were feeling the effects of being bypassed by the Great North of Scotland Railway. They would project a line, authorisation for its construction being awarded in 1899, with the line being operated by the Great North. So far you've been looking at footage of Boat Garden, which is the most westerly station on the Great North of Scotland. I only mention this because there has been an increase in people who keep, to put it charitably, asking why some of my footage is in no relation to my narration. This very neatly goes to show to me that some people only really comprehend these videos on a very surface level, so I might as well just jangle some keys in front of you as unrelated imagery or narration is played in the background. Here's a picture of my rabbit. Pay attention. You have to understand what type of a system the Great North of Scotland Railway was. Confined to the northeast of Scotland, the GNOS dominated Aberdeenshire, Banffshire and the east of Moray. Their main lines were not very long, resulting in small locomotives being quite suitable for all manner of duties. All its lines had already been built by 1899, making the completion of the St Combs Light Railway in 1903 the last line they ever laid. The SCLR had 4 unique stations connecting to the GNOS line at Fraser, which was itself a terminus station. Facilities were made of timber. For what the line was, trains were very varied indeed. Suburban trains, fish trains and mixed passenger and freight trains would all plod along the roughly 4.5 mile long line. In 1904, the GNOS General Manager proposed the line ought to be worked by steam railcars. With the 022 power unit built by Andrew Barclay and Sons in Kilmarnock, the idea proved to be not as fruitful as hoped. But not to worry, the GNOS had the perfect locomotive for a line like the SCLR. The whole of the Great North only had 9 060 tank engines, their Class E, standard products by Kitson of Leeds. And whilst they were ineffective on suburban passenger trains owing to the low fuel capacity, they were perfect for a 4-mile stretch. The Class E's that would become associated with the light railway were numbers 37 and 38. Owing to an unfenced section of track, the light railway locomotives were fitted with Cowcatchers, and the light railway order mandated trains not to exceed 25 miles an hour. When the GNOS was amalgamated into the London and North Eastern Railway in 1923, operations changed very little. What did change was the variety of motive power. With now both the North British Railway, another Scottish company, and the Great North of Scotland Railway under their belt, the LNER could interchange their locomotives. The GNOS Class E became the LNER Class J91. 4 of the North British Railway's Class R 440 tanks to become LNER Class D51 were given an extension of their lives by being allocated to work the St Combs line. By 1933, both classes D51 and J91 were on their way out though. With the LNER direly short of money, they couldn't just have a new engine built for working a 4-mile light railway, so they searched around their existing fleet to reallocate a replacement. Their solution was found in the Great Eastern Railway. Like the Eastern Scottish lines, the GER had been part of the LNER since the 1923 grouping, and several GER locomotives had been reallocated to Scotland. Among them were 3 Class F4242 tank engines known as gobblers. This trio had been allocated to work the Aberdeen area in 1931, and in 1933 number 7222 was modified with Cowcatchers to work the St Combs line. It also gained external sliding window shutters to protect the crews from the harsh Scottish weather as well as the high North Sea winds. With excellent connection to the now LNER main line, St Combs blossomed into an effective suburb of Fraser even more than it already was on paper, operating right into the British Railway days post-1948. When British Railways took over the 4 mainline companies, more roster shuffling was on the cards for the SCLR. Primarily more F4s would be brought in, but another foreign locomotive would join them. Ex-London, Midland and Scottish Railway Class 2, number 46460, was to become the largest steam locomotive to work the line. It, too, would be fitted with Cowcatchers front and rear. I actually own an N-gauge model of this particular locomotive. Man, I should really do some N-gauge again. Through the lower patronage owing to the greater car ownership, the line's passenger service was dieselised in 1959. But, like with most BR branch lines, that was too little, too late. On the 3rd of May 1965, all of the light railway closed. Its mainline terminus, Fraser, wouldn't last much longer, closing in October of the same year. There is just something so magical about the St Combs Light Railway. Never mind your Great Western push-pull branches, the St Combs line had archaic locomotives, mandated cowcatchers, wooden buildings, mixed trains, and under the LNER even ran dedicated funeral trains. Its closure was inevitable, being a branch at the very end of an already unfortunate spur out of Aberdeen. But in terms of charm, I think few branch lines could ever come close.